Hello and welcome to our latest Gration Generation Sport podcast. I'm Harry Gration and alongside me is one of my sons, Harvey, who I will put right in the next 20 minutes or so. Today, the Premiership managerial merry-go-round and also England cricket.
Well, let's begin with Arsenal. Arteta has come in and, well, I think every single Arsenal fan is so refreshed and confident that he can bring back some stability and some hope to the football club.
Yeah, I think what I was impressed with, we were both at the game when they played Chelsea, and Chelsea certainly didn't deserve to win it. They probably would have claimed that a point was fair. Had it not been for that horror mistake by Leno, then I think Arsenal may well have gone on to get all 3 points. But the fact of the matter was, they played with spirit. Ozil was a different player. All the players, every single one of them, wanted to play for their manager. I haven't seen that for Arsenal for 2 or 3 years, and that to me, if they can maintain that, is a very, very positive spin.
Well, I think what Arteta has brought is a clear style, and he's incorporated a really good energy and belief in the squad, where we started pressing when Emery came, and that kind of fell away, but we are pressing very compactly, we're organised with and without the ball. Players are playing with heart, identity and belief in the process, in the system. Arteta's come and really made them believe in their quality and what they can do. And It's entertaining football as well.
And the fans were singing, which I never thought I'd hear quite so quickly, "We've got our Arsenal back." And that was the way it certainly showed itself on the next game when they played Man United. They were brilliant in the first half against Manchester United. I was worried about it because they should have been 4 up at half-time, and I wondered whether or not they'd be able to maintain that. But the fact of the matter is their defence is much more compact. It's still weak. We must be honest about it. There are still things that need to be done. But they are playing for each other. Look at David Luiz. He had a fantastic game. He played as a central defender, and everyone raved about him. It was wonderful.
This is the thing. Arteta's come in, and already, if you'd said who's had a manager for 18 months and who's had one for a couple of weeks, you'd be quite confused to see that Arteta's the one who's really schooled OLE, and he's already given us an identity. And for the players that we questioned if they actually had the quality to play in his system, how easily they've picked it up is pretty astonishing. He's got bits of Guardiola and Wenger, but also himself as well. What Pep does is the Man City right back comes into midfield, and Maitland-Niles came into midfield, and what that allowed was Xhaka to accommate for Kolasinac at left back.
Let's talk about Xhaka because he was so important, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was very, very good. He is the only one that kind of can play through a press for Arsenal. He's the only one that can do that. And after the Crystal Palace game, I thought his Arsenal career was over. I never wanted him to leave, but I thought his Arsenal career was over. And people like Luiz, or the whole of the back four, Maitland-Niles have played incredibly since Arteta's come in. Same with Torreira. Aubameyang's going as well as ever. Ozil's reinvigorated. But getting back to what we did against Manchester United, Kolasinac, by Xhaka dropping into the left-back role, was allowed to double up with Aubameyang on the left-hand side, which gets the best out of Kolasinac, because he's not the best defensively, but he can go forward very, very well. And Daniel James didn't know whether to press Xhaka or leave a 2-on-1 against Wan-Bissaka, who had a really torrid night. And that's exactly the first goal. With Pepe on the other side, him and Ozil did the exact same thing to Luke Shaw, because Kolasinac and Aubameyang, Ozil and Pepe had so much time, and Pepe scored the first goal, which I was so relieved about because he played really, really well.
Yeah, he did, and I think the good thing about it is that there was a belief in what Arsenal were doing. They were not saying, "Oh, this side's going to dominate us; we're going to dominate them." And the team performance was exceptional against Manchester United, and that's got to be something now that they build on. They've got matches coming up. The FA Cup, I suspect, is probably something which many clubs now don't put the same kind of passion involved, although a good run in that might be good for Arsenal and one or two other teams. But we've got to see now whether or not Arsenal can do this away from home, because we haven't really seen that as yet.
Well, this is the thing, we can't get carried away. We can get carried away in the sense that Arteta has already got us playing really, really good football, and it's really, really positive. But let's not get too far ahead, because it won't be like this every game. There's still a lot of things to improve on in transition and things like that. He's got a 3.5-year contract. It probably will take at least 3.5 years to get us anywhere close to the title, like anywhere near to it. But the first signs are really, really, really good, and the team is such a good balance. Torreira and Xhaka are by far the best midfield pivot that we have. Torreira, ever since he's been moved back to his defensive role, has been absolutely incredible. And what I love about Arteta, he's already showing signs of learning. Against Chelsea, he did this aggressive high press for the whole of the first half, which tired the players out. He only did that for 20 minutes against Man United, and we were 1-0 up by then. United got really rushed, started playing long balls. They weren't patient, and they gave the ball straight back to us. You can see this when Luiz and Socrates was looking like the defender we bought from Dortmund, the Serie A winner at AC Milan, the Super Cup winner at Dortmund, all of this. Him and Luiz both won every single one of their aerial duels, and Manchester United gave the ball straight back to us.
I tell you what Luiz did as well, which was amazing to me. He was spraying out some passes that were amazing.
He's so good on the ball, and when we have the balance that we have, Jacques is very good on the ball. He needs time, but he's very good on the ball. With Maitland-Niles, when he gets pushed into midfield, is very composed on the ball. We have good ball players, and if you want to play out from the back, which we haven't been the best of, David Luiz is going to have to play well. And in his interview with Socrates, they talked about how the players weren't happy before, which was what we all kind of knew, but it was interesting that they actually came out and said that. They said how, the players were not happy before, and what they lack physically, they both admitted that physically, fitness-wise, we're not there. But David Luiz says we definitely have in heart, which was really good to hear. And maybe quality-wise, we can definitely improve. But if we can get that Ozil, Pepe, Lacazette, Aubameyang, and then we have youngsters like Martinelli, Nelson, Smith Rowe, Willock behind them, if we can get them really ticking, then the intensity levels will keep on rising.
I think so, and I also thought the fans got behind the new ideas really, very much so. The only person I've been slightly disappointed with so far is Lacazette. Yeah. I certainly have not been disappointed with his effort.
He always works so hard.
But he needs to score goals. But he doesn't look as though he can score a goal at the moment.
But he is one of those players that once he scores one, he'll really push on. And we're just not giving in at the moment. I've never seen Aubameyang work so hard.
No, did he?
Ozil covered over 11 kilometres against United. Same with Aubameyang.
Yeah.
Xhaka and Torreira both did. And it's just about believing in the process, because it's going to take a long time. But the only way it will work for Arteta, the only way, is if he's backed by the board and the players.
It will be.
Which is something we're going to have to see. But covering 105 kilometres in the final game with Emery, and now it's 114 in the game against Manchester United. So with people like Granit Xhaka staying, he's been linked with a move away to Hertha Berlin for around 40 million. I think that's positive that Arteta can persuade him to believe in what's happening. A big blow though is the Callum Chambers injury.
Yeah, terrible that. He was playing so well. It looked as if he was very comfortable. I feel sorry for him. He's 9 months out?
Yeah, it's 6 to 9 months. So that means we're probably looking at around June time for being back in training at best, and that's at best.
And I think that absolutely makes it certain that we're going to have to get somebody.
Yeah, we've been linked with Upamecano from RB Leipzig, but they probably won't want to sell in the top of the Bundesliga and in the Champions League round of 16. They're playing Tottenham, but Holding will hopefully help Chambers, because Holding had the same injury. Bellerin will as well. Chambers is definitely a resilient man. If he wasn't resilient, he would have left Arsenal a long time ago. He's been cast away on loan spells to Fulham, Middlesbrough, and more. So he would have left a long time ago. But good news coming out is Aubameyang has said he's 100% committed to Arsenal. But I think it's probably towards the end, till the end of the season. He's going to give his all to the end of the season, and then if he decides to leave, I don't think anyone can begrudge him.
He will make a decision as to whether or not he feels Arsenal can challenge top 4 next year. They'll be talking now, possibly top 6. That's the best they can hope.
Because people talked about his kind of attitude problems at Dortmund. The only thing I've seen at Arsenal is actually a top professional. So if he leaves, I can't begrudge him at all. I don't think anyone else in Arsenal can. We've been linked with centre-backs as other than Upamecano. We've been Demiral from Juventus, Rugani, Boateng, who could be the more viable option for just 10 or 15 million. He's 31, definitely another veteran who's past it, but maybe give him a contract till the end of the season or something like that to come and shore up the defence. I'd probably be for that, if that's the only thing we can get, because we did spend 150 million in the summer, and maybe financial fair play may come into that. And finally, on Arsenal, Nketiah has been recalled from Leeds. The rumours are that he's going to Bristol City for another loan because it hasn't worked out, which is unfortunate. He's quite a lot better than Patrick Bamford at Leeds, so it's quite unfortunate with injuries how it's worked out for him there. But in terms of Arsenal, I think we can be really positive towards the future, but we can't get ahead of ourselves. There's still such a big job for Arteta to get us anywhere close to the top 4 first, and it's going to take a while for him to get some consistent performance going. So in terms of consistency, there's definitely problems for consistency in some of the top 4 challenges. Manchester United haven't won 3 games in a row since Ole's first 3 games. They're just an enigma at the moment, which will take a while to solve. They have to, in my opinion, they have to get Paul Pogba out of the club. He's just a problem. You see, Ole's fed up of talking about him all the time. It's about Pogba and Mino Raiola, his agent, just constantly talking. They're the wrong signings, the ones that they sign, and then they miss signings. You talk about Eric Brough, Haaland, he's gone to Dortmund. He was probably very close to going there, and there's just a lot of problems from top to bottom in the club. Luke Shaw, who Pepe absolutely humiliated, and in the mood Pepe was in, I think he would have done it to anyone, to be fair, that night. But Shaw's the highest paid fullback in the world, and he's fat. So there's definitely problems at United. They have to do something about Ole one way or the other. Do you want to talk about Chelsea?
I think Chelsea have had a very good season. They're a little bit inconsistent, obviously. They wobble, but I thought they played very well in the second half against Arsenal, and it was pretty obvious that they would score. They're going to be a very, very difficult side to move away from a top 4 position in my opinion.
This is the thing. I think I think you can only praise the teams that are in the top 4 at the moment, and you can only praise Chelsea because they were predicted to be in the top 10 at the start. Because in terms of the actual, let's say you expected them to be 4th, with the points total that they're on, it's like 30, 32, something like that. You wouldn't expected them 20 games into the season, 21 games into the season to be in the top 4 with that.
No, you wouldn't.
Because you have them constantly stumbling like they did at Brighton. And then you have Tottenham as well, who lost to Southampton. Kane has torn his hamstring, which would be a huge blow to them. Eriksen is going to Inter Milan. And they've conceded 18 goals since Mourinho has come, which is the most.
It's funny about Mourinho, isn't it? He was having such a good, a good run, and then it's all gone a bit flat again. You never really know with Mourinho what he's thinking. But that incident the other week when he went over to the Southampton dugout. What on earth is he playing at? That's the act of somebody who just couldn't care less about anybody, and I think he's got to temper that.
We've spoken about Mourinho and said how short term it's probably a very good option for Spurs to give them some sort of stability, but long term I don't know how much he can really offer them, and how far he can really progress the players. We've seen he's quite reluctant to give youngsters the chance at Manchester United. So I don't really know. He might only have his 3-year contract at Spurs, and that might be it. And if he does, he's probably going to do a very good job for them and get them to still challenging to the top 4, But whether they get that or not is a different question. But they look a bit rattled at the moment, Spurs, certainly, and with that Kane injury, we don't know. We don't know how it's really going to go.
I tell you who I think has made a big impact straight away, which I'm a little bit surprised about, is David Moyes at West Ham.
Yeah, well, we talk about this manager bounce.
I mean, that was a significant achievement, is that. And Ancelotti at Everton too has done quite well. They've got some big matches coming up now, so we'll be able to see whether or not he's got a team. But they have got quality players at Everton, and he might be able to get something going there.
You talk about Sigurdsson, Calvert-Lewin, who's hitting form now, Richarlison, Iwobi, Walcott. Delph's had a very good season when he's not been hit with injuries. There's also Tom Davies going forwards. They have got good quality. We will see how good Ancelotti has really made Everton.
I think he's going to be a good manager. He's still a great man.
Of course, Usmanov, the former majority Arsenal shareholder with Stan Kroenke, has or is about to or would like to invest into Moncheri's vision at Everton.
It's amazing.
And wants to help build their new stadium.
Well, presumably that's a massive involvement, and I suppose Arsenal fans would say, well, why can't that money come to Arsenal? Because there's still a reluctance there. But I think you've just got to accept that. He said he would never ever stop supporting Arsenal, but he would wear his Everton shirt from now on. Fair enough. Okay, I accept that.
Well, yeah, I think he had minimal power in Arsenal, and he got quite frustrated in the end, and that's why he left. So we can't hold any grudges really against him. But I see at the bottom of the table, it's going to become a serious dogfight. There's a lot of more than in previous seasons. There's normally been a team or
certainly two teams that you'd think have no chance.
But everyone, Norwich probably the team with the least chance because they're out by 6 or 7 points. But every team is, Norwich are still even playing well. There's teams that are starting to pick up form. We saw a huge win for Aston Villa, but they're so dependent on Jack Grealish. He's already levelled his goal tally for last season, 6 goals. He's also got 5 assists. And he's a similar type of player to the James Maddisons, the Mason Mounts. So England have got another good player on their hands there. But they're so dependent on him. They got a huge win over Burnley, who are gradually being sucked into it. Burnley, they're losing a lot more games. Talking of teams that have been suddenly sucked into it, Bournemouth are now 18th, and 4 weeks ago they were in 12th or 13th.
And they've spent a lot of money as well.
But I do have some condolences with them. They got 14 injuries to their senior squad, but when Josh King and Callum Wilson are not scoring at all, Fraser looks disillusioned. He wants to go. And they've got quite a one-dimensional midfield, just quite workmanlike with people like Sermon, Gosling.
So who would you think at this stage are the sides that who would you predict are going to go down?
I don't think Norwich have much hope. They've been very unlucky because they've played well in some games but haven't got maximum points or any points at all. But look, they're 20th at the moment, so I think they're definitely...
Yeah.
Bournemouth do like to splash a little bit of money, 10 or 15 million on a player, so they might have to take some risks on players there. But maybe if you're one of these teams, do you start building for the Championship? Because you don't want to waste money. Bournemouth isn't a huge club. They don't want to waste money, although they do have Premiership aspirations, I'm sure. But they're looking increasingly wobbly. But
and they're fragile.
But I'm saying this now, I do not think they'll go down because they have had a wobble in every single season, pretty much, since they've been in the Premier League. They always seem to have a great start, bad middle, great ending. And Eddie Howe's a very good manager, and I'm pretty confident they will turn it round. In terms of other teams, Southampton have really pulled away now.
Yeah, they have done well.
They're in 13th, Southampton.
Newcastle on a bit of a wobble.
Slightly, but they're still 12th, 13th. I think they're 14th, actually. Yeah. Southampton are miles away from it now. I think everyone always knew that Hassenhuttl was a very good manager. You just see what he's done with Leipzig. Again, they're very heavily dependent when you have a goal scorer like Danny Ings, who has scored 9 in 9 and 13 for the Premier League season. It really does help you. And they have got Obafemi, Shea Adams, Long to support him as well if he gets injured. And it's kind of remarkable. I don't quite know how they've turned it around after losing 9-0 to Leicester. So I don't really know how they've done it, but they have, and they're looking as safe as anyone. One more team actually, Watford. Nigel Pearson's
doing a great job.
Such a huge resurgence under him.
I've got a lot of time.
They've only lost to Liverpool.
Yeah, I know Nigel very well. I was on his testimonial committee when he was at Sheffield Wednesday many years ago. He's a smashing chap, and I'm delighted for him. And he's defied all the experts, and he's doing it well there. Well done, Nigel. Stick at it.
Yes,
but he's still got a long way to go.
Well, this is the thing. They have got quality in the squad. They've got Deeney, who will fight for everything. They've got quality on the wings with Ismail Assar, their record signing. They've got Gerard Deulofeu, Abdoulaye Doucouré, Will Hughes, these types of players that really they're looking as likely as anyone to kind of stay up now. I'd say the teams that are in bother are Bournemouth, Norwich. I think Villa are really struggling at the moment, and I think those are the three teams that are going to have to be. They're going to have to be on the ball in January. Yeah. You've seen Villa have spent 150 million. It was 125 million, something like that, in the summer. What are they going to do in January? So there's a big January coming up for a lot of teams. So moving on, we're going to talk about the cricket, and it's been really a dismal tour for England and South Africa at the moment.
Yeah, it has. They lost that first Test match and lost it fairly comprehensively. I think one of the problems that they've got is they don't seem to be able to get any kind of consistency in batting. It's mind-blowing, really. It really is mind-blowing. And I think that when you look at the players that they've got, somehow they're going to have to get that sorted out. There's a lot of criticism about Root. I don't have a problem with Root at all. I think he's he captains well. He has off sessions like every captain does, but he's okay. Obviously, I'm saddened by Johnny Bairstow not being part of the side, because I don't think the way to get him back in the fold is to drop him. I think they should have had an arm round his shoulder and make him feel that he can play cricket, especially in South Africa, where, of course, he got that first Test century in 2013. But those are the things that we have to move on. England are no longer the best Test match side in the world by some stretches of the imagination. South Africa are only a mediocre team.
Yeah, I was going to say, they're both. You look at the England side, it's not average, but both sides are playing very, very poorly.
Yeah.
And they're quite mediocre, both sides. Obviously, illness has hit so many England players.
Yeah. And Archer's not playing in
Archer's
the next
the latest
Test match.
one. You have Burns with ankle ligament damage.
Football injury.
Yeah, but I'm going to take a different view on you to Joe Root. I think he's been given long enough, really. You can't take it away from him early, but I think he's been given long enough. And I just think he has to be taken out of the limelight now and has to focus on his batting. Because his batting, he'll always give a side chances now. As well as Joe Denley looks at three. He's not a long-term answer.
I don't think there's anybody there who stands out to me as a captain. Ben Stokes, maybe. I think Ben Stokes could make a captain.
I'd rather have Ben Stokes captain at this point than Joe Root.
No, I wouldn't.
I think Stokes thrives on the responsibility. He's bowling less, which is detriment to
Which is
England,
ridiculous.
because in terms of batting, he's not. He's one of the best batsmen in the world, but he's not one of those best batsmen. So he should be bowling as well, because he's fully fit now. They're not saving him for batting.
Agreed.
So he should be bowling. I think Sam Curran's very good, but he's better than him. Leach obviously has been hit by injury, so he hasn't had a good spinner. Dom Bess he's not at the quality. He's a good spinner, but he's not at the quality
turn it very
for
much.
England. And there's no one really, although the Test team might need reform, because it's kind of one-day players, and the one-day team is very, very good. But there's no one in the county championship, and this is actually a growing problem for England, because there's nobody in the county championship that can really stake a claim. And when the talisman at the moment, the Broads and Andersons, leave, I don't know, bar Archer, if there's any seam bowlers really that are either available, not through injury, that can actually come in.
Yeah, it's a good point, is that I don't quite understand why Archer's not being as effective as I thought he would be out there. I think basically it's just one of those things, isn't it? We've got to get him fired up and wanting to play for England every single match.
Yeah, because you see Kagiso Rabada.
Yeah.
and he's always fired up. He's always bowling quick. Archer's always bowling quick, but I don't know. He does it in quite a lethargic way, and that is his bowling action. Yeah. But I think we've just got to get him G'd up again because there's no doubt he has talent.
So that's it for this week's Gration Generation podcast. Hope you've enjoyed the show. We say it every week, don't we? Enjoy your sport, enjoy your Premier League football, because we do.